Good morning. We are joined with 2017 Travelers Championship Jordan Spieth. Jordan, welcome back here. You're making your 7th start. What's it like to be back here in Connecticut?
Well, first and foremost, every time I come here, I think about maybe the coolest moment I've had, moment in golf, which was in 2017 in that playoff. So it's always fun to kind of relive that when I come here and get out on the course. And I have great memories here. I've played it. I've had some mixed results, but coming in right now, I feel like it's a pretty important event for me. I feel like I've been moving the right direction. After kind of essentially missing an off season, trying to kind of get back into it, every month's felt a little bit better, and structurally, things are getting better. I'm seeing more consistent ball striking results, and just need to pour in some putts.
And just got announced here a couple minutes ago, AT&T is renewed for a multi-year deal as an ambassador. What's it like to see that's going to be a continued event here with AT&T Pebble Beach?
Well, I was going to play it every year anyway, so it's kind of nice that they're going to renew for one of these elevated events. We saw what's possible on the tough end 2 years ago with obviously a crazy storm that knocks out the final round, and then we saw kind of this last year how amazing this model can look on one of the greatest golf courses in the world with one of the greatest champions that we've had in Rory winning there. So all in all, I think it's amazing, having been on kind of single-year partnerships with the tour the last couple of years, to make a commitment there, I think is really big for us players for the PGA Tour, and hopefully AT&T reaps the benefits that they're hoping for as well. So I know that in the last year it's been a really positive shift around that tournament from their perspective, and so it's nice to. I think it's awesome. I mean, I was a huge proponent of trying to get that event to be elevated a few years back, just thinking how often can we get the best players in the world all together playing on the greatest golf courses in the world, and that one obviously is between there and Riviera early in the season. It doesn't get any better.
Perfect. Thanks, Jordan. With that, open up the questions. Same as always, raise your hand. We'll get a microphone over to you. We'll start here on the left-hand side with Dan.
I have 2 questions. First one, with the setup being so difficult last week, is it nice to get to a course like this where you're going to be able to shoot something under par?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we can do a pretty good job of separating scores. It's more strokes gained scores in our minds now, the way we operate, when you look at stats. So although, overall it kind of stings to shoot 75, no matter where you are when you're not used to doing it. In general, you think of it as shooting a few under. Everything's 5 to 6 shots higher at a U.S. Open round to round than what maybe the average score out here. So I think the toughest part is the mentality of, okay, I can actually attack a little bit more, or hey, I gotta pour this putt in. You want it pushing it from, you get out of U.S. Open, you're 2 under, you're kind of sitting there a little reserved, like, okay, I got 3 really hard holes coming up, let's hit 3 greens, versus here it's like, okay, we got to push this from 2 to 5, to 7, whatever it may be to keep up. So it's just more of, I don't think it's too challenging of a shift relative to the other players. It's more just kind of getting back into the swing of things of like, all right, actually I have a 7-iron in my hand, but I can, I don't have to be quite as careful, I guess. Having said that, the rough's up about as high as I've seen it here ever. And then it played obviously very long yesterday and today with these conditions, which will change. But it's no gimme golf course, especially if we're going to see windy conditions. So it's, short answer to your question is, yeah, it's kind of nice. It would be hard to play something like that last week every single week, but at the same time, you get a lot of risk reward on the back 9 here, which can yield 3, 4, 5 under rounds, but you can also get in some big time trouble, especially on the back 9.
And then the last 2 winners on tour, late bloomers. Ryan Fox is 38. He's won 2 of his last 4 starts. JJ's having the best year of his career, deep into his 30s. Is that sort of inspiring a little bit that, it's not, we see all the success from the young guys, but you can have success at this sport at any age?
Yeah, and I think, maybe there's been a shift with, I don't want to say less of late bloomers or people in their 30s, 40s winning, but seems like there's less than there was, 10 to 30 years ago. And with the game shifting so much to athleticism and power and speed, and you're likely going to see it stay the way it is, where the young guys come out and they can make a splash. But that's the beauty about golf, is you can. I mean, Phil was 52 when he won the PGA. Is that right?
50, I think. 51.
Was he 50?
Yeah.
I mean, you can win in our sport at the highest level. You have 30 years where it's been done or it's possible. So, seeing JJ grind it out, seeing his story of essentially saying, if this is the end in the middle of last year, then so be it, and turn it around into what he's done this season, and almost winning 2 of the 4 biggest events so far this season is certainly inspiring. And then Foxy obviously knocked on the door a number of years, and then to come through a couple times this year, was amazing. I just thought that final round. I don't watch a lot of golf, and that was incredibly entertaining.
The Canadian Open, or
No, sorry, I meant the U.S. Open.
Oh,
But
yeah.
The Canadian finish was as well. It was kind of a couple of straight Sundays of kind of can't take your eyes off it. You don't know what's going to happen. It was cool.
We'll pass the microphone up to Dom here in the front.
Jordan, you mentioned your coolest moment and coming back and reliving it. I was just wondering, how often do you run across the video of that? Do you go out of your way to see it at certain times to watch it, or do you maybe just run across it randomly? But how often do you kind of see that shot and the call and all of that?
Less and less as time has passed. I felt like it was on every promo thing that would come on past the TV. It's on the Golf Channel. It was on a promo with other winning moments from other guys for a number of years, and now there's been so many moments that it's kind of. But no, I don't search it out. I don't think I've ever searched it out since maybe that day seeing it. But when you come back here, you walk down by the locker room. There's a big screen, and it'll show different moments from this tournament, and so I see it there. And it was just one of those. I just don't know how or if I would ever have something that's kind of that epic in the sport. I mean, it's just the way this. I mean, there was 20,000 people around the whole amphitheater setting, and everybody just going crazy. Well, there it is right there. So it pops up here and there. So it was. I'd love to have another opportunity, but stuff like that, you just have to relish and recognize that they're few and far between.
And we have Dave in the back.
Jordan, going back about 10 years, what were some of the things that after you won your first major championship that maybe happened to you or that changed that maybe you didn't anticipate? No one had told you that, hey, after you win a major, this is stuff that you might expect or that you might not have thought of that's going to change the way either you operate, your family stuff, anything that you might tell or share with JJ that things are going to change for you now that you've won a major championship?
I think it was maybe a lack of more than anything else. I think I just came back, and I remember within a couple weeks later, it was like I played the next week, but say I came back, I had kind of a crazy run of heightened attention, for a few weeks as I went to the Texas events and stuff, and then all of a sudden somebody else had won an event, and it's just golf. I mean, it was crazy because to me, I was like, oh man, what's this? You go to New York City and everyone's kind of recognizing you, and I go to dinner there and people stand up and clap like around the whole restaurant. I'm just like, oh boy, this is, I don't love this. It's very cool. Everyone's very nice, but you just don't feel like you can you just feel like your peripheral vision is just always activated when you're out. And, but then I think the biggest thing is it just, after a few weeks, it was just golf and somebody else won another event, and it sticks with you in history and you accomplish your goals, not to diminish it whatsoever. It's just that it wasn't like, what I guess maybe it was bigger to me than, and I maybe everything just kind of went back to the world going around it again quicker than you just kind of realize, I guess.
and then after you win another one, which for you obviously happened relatively quickly, does it sort of reset and that starts again, or does that after the
Yeah.
first one it's not?
Yeah, kind
Quite.
of. And obviously that year played out kind of like that. And, for a few years. But, I think if I get the opportunity to win another one again, I think and maybe this helps, maybe this is an answer you're looking for, but I think relishing in kind of, you win a couple in a row, you're like, all right, well, maybe I can do this a bunch. And, obviously that's the goal, but not many people have done it a bunch. And I think just recognizing how special those are, appreciating the work and the support and the team around you that's gotten you there, and just enjoying accomplishing those kind of goals maybe more than I took them for granted in a way, just because you just kind of hope or seem that they can just keep happening.
Want to go right side here, Jason?
Jordan, you mentioned Sunday being must-see TV at Oakmont. I just wanted to get your thoughts on having a signature event the week after a major championship. Obviously, you guys are putting so much into trying to win a major championship, but the tour gets to sort of pick up on that momentum from a major as well. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think this one is, this is a unique one because it's tougher if the U.S. Open's on the West Coast. Then you're going cross country right off a major, and but it's an event that I played post U.S. Open, a couple times, a few times before it was elevated, anyways, because it's such a great event. We have 2 elevated events right after majors, and 2 of them we don't, or 2 of the majors we don't. I'm not sure. I mean, I've played a lot this year, and I've been playing a lot the last few years, and I don't mind it right now. So I may not be the best person to ask versus somebody who's picking a tighter schedule and maybe would like it the week before, where we don't have one this year. We did last year, the week before. But, not everybody in these events are in the majors, and then not everybody makes the cut from the major and would like to kind of get a chance at a big event the next week. So I haven't had a hard time getting up for the events after. I adjusted my schedule this week versus Hilton Head, because Hilton Head on Monday I took off fully and felt like, okay, actually, I need to kind of get ready, and I came out and did a couple hours on Monday just to kind of I was striking it well, so just keep the pattern going and then go work a little bit on some stuff that I needed to work on. So I was very happy with coming out and doing that, even though it was a Monday post-major.
Based on that, where would you assess your game right now? What are you happy with? What do you think you need to work on a little bit?
I'm pleased with most everything. I'm just kind of, I feel like I'm getting done with the round, and my scoring is, I'm just like, a couple times during the week, there's just kind of 2 shots that I'm like, man, I just played 2 strokes better today. And normally that just comes down to capitalizing on opportunities, short game stuff, taking advantage of easy holes, making putts. Last week I had a lot of momentum, and then I made a triple with just making a mistake on a couple putts, hitting them a little bit too hard where I wanted to make the par, I didn't want to make the bogey, and I held patient all week and made the one U.S. Open mistake you can't make, which is to try to do something a little special. And, other weeks I felt like I hit a good tee shot, and, I missed it by 5 yards. I needed to miss it by 3, something like that, where there was a stroke or 2 difference. It feels like I just need to stay the course, and good things are coming. And I think the biggest thing for me right now is not trying. It's going to be harder and harder as we get to the end of the season to try to force results, given I only have however many events left now. I don't have the runway that you had in February, but so if it all comes together by the end of the season, great. If not, then it's already been about pretty much a better season, on the better end of what I could have asked for coming off surgery and starting late into the season. So I'm looking forward to this week. This is a big week. The Open's a big week. And then look to the playoffs, and there's a chance I'd add an event somewhere. I'm not sure. It'll just kind of depend on the standings, because the idea is to make it to East Lake.
Back to the left side with Kevin.
Hey, Jordan, in terms of your recovery between events, Sunday night, Monday, either physical or mental, is there what would you say is the importance of that overall, and does it kind of change week to week, or do you put more focus on it a week after the U.S. Open that can be kind of grueling?
Yeah, I had a few beers Sunday. I was waiting. We were waiting on the Schefflers to come over here, and he was after the delay. So I went to Buffalo Wild Wings with Michael, and so I didn't exactly eat or drink the way I normally do there. And then so most of the time it's very, very good. But sometimes post U.S. Open, I just kind of needed to throw a few back, and then by yesterday I was good. I'm still young enough that doesn't really bother me on the next day. So I think it's not so different week to week. It's changed a lot for me over the last few years, especially traveling with my family and stuff like that, and also having the accessibility we have now out here with our recovery trailer and physios being super accessible and stuff. So my recovery post event into beginning the next week is I'm getting on top of it quite a bit more than I used to, which is great. And I feel like off of last week, it was a pretty tough walk. This is my 10th out of 12 weeks as well. So my legs are a little bit, were a little clumsy the last 2 days. And I woke up this morning and feel, ready and fresh. And that's kind of what you're looking for, is that if you can get there by Wednesday morning or sooner, after hitting a couple training sessions and kind of getting everything on the recovery side going, then we're good to go. But yeah, I eat very clean and think a lot about how we're recovering now, and it's going to have to continue as I get older.
And kind of specifically to this week, the fourth hole has been the toughest hole here over the last 5 years. I was wondering if you could speak to the nature of that hole and how you kind of game plan and think about that hole and its challenge.
Well, it's a really tough drive. It's probably the narrowest area to hit driver. If you pull it off, it's just an 8 or maybe even a 9-iron downwind, so it's not too bad. But when you miss the fairway is where it becomes a challenge, because both bunkers are difficult to get it on the green. And then the miss for most people is going to be over the right bunker. It's thick. It's some of the thicker rough on the golf course, and then they have a tree blocking you from being able to go at the green. So it's all in really the tee ball. From there, you're trying to hit the middle of the green. Most of the pins are over by the runoff on the right side. And so even when you hit the middle of the green, you kind of have to be defensive with your putt. So all in all, it's a hard par 4. It's not surprising that it's playing the toughest. I think we're going to see a couple different winds there this week, but primarily downwind, which helps. And then that 4-5 stretch, is those 2 holes you're kind of looking, hey, let's just get it on center of the green with a birdie putt. And if you can play them both even par, you beat the field. And there's plenty of other chances out here.
And we'll take final one with MK here in the back.
With the news yesterday of Brian stepping in as the new CEO, just what are your thoughts on that, and have you had the chance to speak with him yet?
Yeah, I did yesterday, and I thought his comments to our, to the players that were there I really, really liked him. I think he seems like a steal from the most successful sports organization in the world, and someone who was, on the path to becoming potentially commissioner over there to coming over and taking the PGA Tour forward. I really, I think he resonated a lot with some of the players about challenging some of the networks on how they're showing the product, and then being open and willing to adapt and change while maintaining the integrity of the game. So, I think he said all the right things, from other players to other people that are sponsors that have reached out to me since, have all been super excited about that hire, and that we're very lucky to have him.
And when you did speak with him yesterday, just what was that conversation like? And
I was just kind of an introduction, and not much more than that. It was with a couple others, and I was just kind of mentioning how I was on the board and I'm not anymore, and so on and so forth. But it was, he's encouraging everyone to reach out, and he's going to reach out to players, and he wants their perspective on things. And as you know, we can get quite opinionated about certain things, and So I'm sure he'll take what he knows to be something that could help and not. I mean, it just seems like he can bring a wealth of experience in a lot of places, but then he's super open to learning more about golf and the PGA Tour's business and the product itself from those that know more about it until he gets caught up. And it just seems like a very, it seems like a great approach that sponsors are going to really enjoy, players are going to really enjoy, the networks should really enjoy working with them, and that combination hopefully makes the product better and better to the fan, which is really what we're trying to do.
And now, final question from MK.
Hey, Jordan. You mentioned earlier your stretch of playing golf. You've done 7 of the last 8 events. Just how do you keep a pace that allows you to have reasonable goals that you set to get the results that you want?
What do you mean by a pace?
I mean, I think 7 out of 8 weeks you're on the road a lot.
Like when I'm scheduling it?
Yeah.
I didn't play a tournament for 6 months, so that helps. That gets a fire under you and makes you want to be out there. And then from there, with Dallas and Fort Worth being important to me and where they were on the schedule, I was kind of, stuck in how often I was going to play this time of year. So then it was, where do I take days off? How do I prepare? How am I taking care of my body? How am I eating? How, just really taking once I started, went down to San Antonio, it was, okay, we're about to start this heavy stretch that has a few majors and a bunch of elevated events mixed in, and I've got to be really diligent about what I do. And most importantly for me, it was, not every event's going to go great. And if you can feel like you're getting better, each stretch a little bit better, then that should be the goal, because it's still going to be long term coming back from this injury, and I shouldn't expect to come out firing right away. And I feel like I've started to knock on the door a little bit, and that's been made this whole stretch worth it.
Perfect. That's all the questions we have. Thank you, Jordan, for the time.
Thank you.